It's a bit laggy. Hello, Jonathan. Good afternoon. How are you doing, Jonathan? Can you hear me clearly, Jonathan? So far, okay with your transport? Just let me know if you can see the screen clearly. Tiara, Kusau? Still okay. You will be okay, Jonathan. Can you confirm that you can see clearly? Okay, good. So this is the last 1 week before the last week of our transport phenomena unit delivery. So in this week we will have this one drop-in sessions and also another one tutorial that will be the end of the tutorial, I think. And then next week we will have one more drop-in sessions. So next week, like I mentioned in the announcement, there will be a submission week for the your assignment 2. So I hope everybody is doing well on the assignment 2. And then assignment 2 will be your I think will be the last assignment before the take-home test 2. Okay. And then take-home test 2, it's gonna be 3 hours, but I told you again, I give you plenty time to basically tackle just one problem with several sub-questions, I think. But I will not add much more time again because I have given much more plenty time than what you needed to solve for that particular problem. What I want is basically the rational thinking and your analysis on the problem itself to get the right steps. Okay, so mass transfer is, like I told you again, I talked about last week, it's on the homogeneous reaction and the heterogeneous reaction. So you need to be careful when you have the homogeneous reaction, meaning that the reaction term should come out or appear in the shell element balance. Okay, if you have the heterogeneous reactions, which means that your reaction is defined, reaction not occurring everywhere within your system, that means you need to specify where your reaction occurs. So that means your reactions will occur instead on the boundary conditions instead of the shell element balance. So that's very important thing that I keep on pointing out again, and I will point out again today. So what do you mean by homogeneous is that homogeneous occurring all over your system. Okay, heterogeneous means that the reaction is not occurring uniformly all over your system. You will know this when the problem describes the reaction, how it occurs basically. Yeah. So now we're gonna extend the previous example that we have done is basically this. I don't know why I cannot. Let me check this one. So we have gone through these reactions in here. Okay, this is a heterogeneous reactions, right? And then this one is a slow heterogeneous reaction, which is the modifications of the assumption of this particular problem, except that we change the boundary conditions too. So the boundary conditions too is that at z equal the film thickness, or basically at the surface of your heterogeneous surface in here, the mole fractions of A is always 0 because the reaction occurs instantaneously. So instead of that, then we for this particular problem, the modification is that instead of a fast reactions, we have a slow heterogeneous reactions, whereby at the surface of the catalyst, then your mole fractions of the A is equal to the molar flux of A, which is constant, divided by the reaction rate, and this double superscript in here refers to the per surface area, okay, per meter square or per centimeter square, okay, multiplied by the total concentration. So in doing that, then we will be able to basically with some assumptions, then we will be able to simplify further such that we have explicit functions of the molar flux of A in the z direction. Okay, as a functions of the all the other variables, all the parameters, and also the mole fractions of the A at the position of X equal, at the position of Z equal 0. Good afternoon, Sarina. I just go a little bit refresh into what we have been discussing, I think, last semester in my recording. Okay, that you can also watch again in the previous week. Okay, and essentially what we get in here is this particular equations in here. Okay, and then we come up with the so-called dimensionless group called the Dam-Kohler number. Okay, Dam-Kohler number in here is basically showing you the relative contributions from the surface reaction kinetics with respect to the diffusion process. So these are something that is important for chemical engineers when they are dealing with the reaction, if there is a process that involves reaction. Okay, so now in here we're going to move into the next example. In this particular example, we have a diffusion with a homogeneous chemical reaction. So now we need to connect the descriptions in here with the figure in here. So you need to go and look at the figure below. Consider the system below. Gas A is on top in here. Gas A dissolved in liquid B, okay, in a beaker. So imagine if you have a beaker, like basically a cylindrical beaker, okay, and then you put in a gas. There is a gas A on top of the interface between the gas and the liquid B. Okay, and then you take an assumption that it's basically isothermal, so the temperature is kept constant, and the gas A will diffuse into the liquid B. Okay, so as you go, that gas A will basically go, and it exists in the interface, then it will go down, go down, go down, go down. Okay, so as the gas A diffuses, is also going an irreversible first order homogeneous reaction. Following A plus B becomes AB. So as the A goes, diffusing go down, okay, to the bottom of the beaker, then gas A also reacts with the B in here according to A plus B becomes AB. So an example of these systems is, for example, the absorption of the CO2 by a concentrated aqueous solutions of sodium hydroxide. Okay, so the CO2 is basically an acidic gas, and NaOH is basically an alkaline or a basic liquid. So meaning that between acid and the basic reactants, then they normally can react with each other. Okay, for the sake of this assumption to make this particular problem is easy, then we treat the system as a binary solutions of A and B, meaning the reaction is actually very small, such that the amount of the AB within the system can be neglected with respect to the A and B. So in this case, we assume that we are dealing with the pseudo-binary assumption. So if the gas A does not react with the liquid B in a very vigorous reactions, that means that we only have a small amount of the AB. So in terms of the quantity, the AB quantity in here will be much less compared to A and B. So meaning that we just dealing with the A and B, because otherwise we have to deal about another assumption that will be more complex than if we just treat it as a binary system. Now, in the beaker, we can take the shell elements, the shell of the thickness, because the diffusion goes in the Z directions, meaning that the concentration profile should vary in the Z directions, right? You agree with me? So you need to understand where the diffusion goes, and then for most of the mass transfer problem, then the shell element balance is very simple. Normally, we don't really deal with the complicated shell elements normally for the mass transfer. Okay, so that's the thing that you have been observing from the previous example. We always take the simple things in here, like in terms of the slice of the element in here. Okay, so what we did is the molar flux in Z, the molar flux in the Z directions inspected at Z multiplied by the surface area. minus this inspected at the Z plus delta Z, and then because the reaction is homogeneous, so you multiply the reaction rate constant multiplied by the concentrations of A multiplied by the volume of the shell element. The volume of the shell element is no doubt the surface area multiplied by the thickness of the shell elements that you take, it is delta Z. And then the superscript, the 3 superscript in here refers to the fact that the volume is happening on the volume metric base element. Okay, you note that this is different with this heterogeneous reactions. When you go with these heterogeneous reactions, then the reaction rate constant that comes appearing here is these things, right? It has only 2 superscripts in here. So this is defined in terms of the per unit area, whereas this one is defined per unit volume. That's the thing that is very important. Okay, you need to understand these things, and then you can confirm these things again based on the unit as well, on the unit of your reaction rate constant. So reaction rate constant in here is moles per centimeter cube second. Now, when you do this thing, then you after that you do what is you take limit delta Z approaching 0. When you take this delta Z approaching 0, you can simplify to get something like this. Now, the concentration profile in here is logically, ideally, we cannot really confirm the precise concentration profile, but we know that as we go from this particular interface of the gas and the liquid, then the concentration will reduce. Why? Because as it goes diffuse to the bottom, then it will react. So meaning that the concentrations will also reduce as well in here. Okay, except the exact reductions in terms of the concentration is not really known at this particular stage yet. So this is something that basically come and when we have a look at this particular problem, we need to think visually and imagine in terms of our chemical engineering and the physical intuitions that we think about the system. Okay, now we go back into our combined molar flux expression. The first term in here again comes from your molecular contributions. The second term in here comes from your convective contributions. The convective contributions contain the contributions not only from the A, but also from the B. Now, you will ask me, where is this pseudo-binary assumptions plays into the role? Because imagine if you don't have the pseudo-binary assumption, that means that you will have another term again in here that relates with the NABZ. Okay, and then also you will have to have another diffusivity again, diffusivity of not just A and B, but also diffusivity of AB as well. Okay, so that will become a ternary system, and in a ternary system that will be much more complicated. I hope everybody follows so far with me. I'm going slow in here, and I'm sorry for the background noise as well. I cannot control that background noise. I'm sorry. Now we take another assumption that for small concentration of A, then the mole fractions of the A within the systems can be neglected, or because they are almost 0. Okay, thus the simplifications that we use in here is that this becomes 0. So in this case, then this NAZ can be taken as equal to only the first term only is important. Okay, so once you get these things in here, then what you need to do is you need to put in here. You put in here. Once you put it in here, you will get a second order ordinary differential equations in here. Look, remember that for so far the example that we discussed so far, okay, what we have done is that you have to connect somehow the assumptions that allows you to basically connect this second term in here with the first term in here in order for you to be able to get an explicit expressions of your NAZ with respect to the molar flux of A. So that's why for mass transfer, it is very important for you to understand the systems very well. So if we take these particular assumptions, then now we inspected the boundary conditions. What is the first boundary condition? The first boundary condition is that the concentrations of A at the interface between the gas and the liquid is known. So that concentration is equal to the Ca naught. Okay. And then at the bottom of your beaker, the diffusion should be equal to 0. So when the diffusion is equal to 0, okay, of course your diffusivity will not be equal to 0, right? Your diffusivity will not be equal to 0. So that means that only your concentrations of derivative of your concentration with respect to Z is equal to 0. So physically this means that your BC1 is represented by this and the BC2 is represented by this. So this boundary condition is important in that you express how the mathematical statement can explain your physical situation. Okay, now what you need to do is you need to simplify the second order ordinary differential equations into a dimensionless variables in order for you to be able to simplify your solution. So a chemical engineer always dealing with the dimensionless variables for a reason. I mean, so that it's easy to get the solutions, and the derivations will become much more simplified because you are dealing with much less variables. Okay, in here we are taking the first variables is this Ca divided by Ca naught. Okay, now remember that the one that is constant is this Ca naught. So then this d of the dimensionless concentration will be equal to the dCa divided by the Ca naught. Okay, then you take another dimensionless variables in terms of the Z, where you basically normalize with respect to the length of your, or to the height of your submerged beaker portion. Okay, that one is called L. So you have this, and then you have this. Then after you do the, you will get this one, that you can use a chain rule in here. So basically a chain rule in here after you do, and then you plug in all these things in here one by one. Okay, you manage to get a simplified second order ordinary differential equations in here. Then the solutions will have the form of this, which you can assume. Okay, if you go back to my week 1 different level of the modeling example, I think that this one is explained very thoroughly in there. Okay, so this one you will get equal to this one basically. So you will get these two solutions, and the solutions in here is equal to this in terms of that I can express in terms of the hyperbolic sin and the hyperbolic cosine. If you want to know why these two is equal, then this is what I provide in here. So I go back to the definitions of the cos hyperbolic of this, which is equal to this the first plus the last one, okay, divided by 2. Whereas the sinus is basically the difference between the cos and the sine is only in the sign of this one. So this is the cosinus is plus, the sinus is minus. Once you add these things again, then you know that this constant in here can be defined in terms of the C. This constant in here can be defined in terms of the D. Okay, I think so far you get these things already. So then instead of me solving it in here, I can choose to solve it in here, but you can also go back again and choose in terms of this one again if you want. Okay, so that's just showing you the equality. Now we can sub the boundary conditions. Okay, now the boundary conditions again, we need to convert the boundary conditions in terms of our dimensional variables into our dimensionless variables. So if at z equals 0, Ca equals Ca naught, then this dimensionless z variable 0, dimensionless concentration will be equal to 1. So your C1 will be equal to 1. Then don't forget that you need to, hi, good afternoon Daniel. Just let me know if you have any issue in listening or looking at the screen. Okay. Don't forget to sub in your C1 again. You put in your C1 in here equal to 1. And then once you put in your C1 equal to 1, then you put in this one. So it's very important that every time you do your steps, after you sub in your steps, then don't forget to plug in this thing. So it becomes systematic and structured. Now, the second boundary condition at Z equal L, is your derivative of A of the concentrations of A with respect to Z is equal to 0. So that means that in your dimensionless Z variables in here, you have to find out the equivalent in terms of the derivative of the dimensionless variables in Z divided by the dimensionless of the variables in terms of the with respect to what is that? This thing is Z, I think. Z. I think the dimensionless concentration with respect to the dimensionless Z variables should be equal to 0. Okay. Then you don't forget to differentiate these things. So the derivative of the cos h will be sin h, but because we have this term, okay, so that will come out again as an additional term in here. Okay, and then C2 multiplied by this, then we can put in this one as z equal L. So we get that this one at this equal 1. After you substitute in here, you will get the C2. So after you sub in again the C2, you can get these things that you can simplify because you have these properties in here that cos hx plus minus y is equal cos plus sin. Okay, so once you get these things, you will be able to get these things in here. Therefore, if you convert back your dimensionless variables back into your dimensional variable, you will be able to get these things in here. Okay, I hope everything is clear so far. So I've been going very slow for this particular example to make sure that every steps are covered correctly in here. Now, after we get these things in here, the other thing that we can figure out is the average concentration. Okay, so the average concentrations will be the integral of 0 to L, okay, Ca over Ca naught dz divided by integral of 0 to L over dz. Okay, so in here I'll just give you the result, but the steps in here can be followed in here more precisely. Okay, so that in the end what we get is a simplified expressions of the Tangen hyperbolic of this number in here, okay, which we call a TL modulus. So the TL modulus in here shows the relative influence of the chemical reaction and diffusion. Okay, so that will be depending on the Tangen hyperbolic of the TL modulus divided by the TL modulus. The other quantity that we can find is also the molar flux at the plane Z equal 0. Okay, so this will be, if you go back into the definitions again, then that will be the minus of the diffusivity of AB multiplied by the dCA over dZ at Z equal 0. In here, you need to go back again into putting in your chain rule again, and you know that these three terms multiplied will be essentially equal to the dCA over dZ. Why? Because this will cancel out with this term, and this term in here will cancel out with this term. But if you put it like in such a way, then you can convert back into the original definitions that this, for example, the first term dCA over this derivative in terms of the concentration, that will be equal to Ca naught, right? And then the third term in here, d of the dimensionless length variable over dz, that will be equal to the 1 over L, right? So don't forget, because if you skip any of these variables, then you will not get a complete solution for this one. So essentially, you will get this one is I mean equal to this. Okay, you will get this equal to this. Okay, then if you multiply this, then you will get that this one is equal to the Ca naught multiplied by the dAb divided by L multiplied by the tile modulus multiplied by the Tangen H tile modulus. So you show that the molar flux at the plane Z equals 0, or the molar flux as this interface in here, is basically a function of the concentrations of the A at the interface. So the concentrations of the A at the interface in here will be the solubility of your gas A in liquid B. Okay, because of course at this particular surface in here, then the reaction term is still zero, considered zero, because so that means it's just the solubility of the gas A in liquid B. And it's also a function of the diffusivity of the A in B. And then it's also a function of your height of the liquid, okay? And then that will also depends on your Thiele modulus. So Thiele modulus in here refers to your reaction rate, okay? And then also your diffusivity, and then also it also affected by the height of your liquid. So meaning that this is forming an important term in here, that in such a reacting system, we will have this particular expression. So, and this gives a benefits for you, because if we go back again to these particular systems where we talk about the absorption of the CO2 by a concentrated aqueous solution of the sodium hydroxide, right? Meaning that we can now get the value of the solubility of the Ca0 and then the diffusivity of the DAB, okay, when the chemical reaction take place. So how did you do that? So this is, for example, one of the most attractive way that people have been done. So for example, the surface reaction rate constant, the reaction rate constant of the surface reaction rate constant in here, you can measure it in a separate experiment, okay, using the methodology that is given in your reaction engineering, okay. So that can be done in a well-steered vessel. Once you get that reaction rate constant, then what you can measure is that you can measure the absorption rate as a function of the different liquid depth. So what happens is that if you measure the concentrations of the Ca0 in here, measure the reaction rate, the absorption rate in here, for a different height of the liquid systems. Once you get that thing, then you will be able to get the Ca0 with the DAB in here, because you already have this K1 from another experiment. Okay, and is that is that clear for this particular example? Any questions on these particular steps or these particular things in here? No? Anything, Kusal, Tiara, Jonathan, Sarina, Daniel? This all looks clear in here? Okay, so then we move on into another example. But for this example, I will not go through describing everything in detail, but rather I will just define what is the additional points in here. Okay, now imagine that you have a different alternative scenario, that a gas reaction with a chemical reaction and an agitated tank. So for example, you want to estimate the effect of chemical reaction rate on the rate of the gas absorption in an agitated tank. You consider a system in which the dissolved gas A undergoes an irreversible first-order reaction with the liquid B. So in the same way that with our previous system, so we have this A plus B becomes AB, when we can take the pseudo-binary assumption. Okay, and in here we have we specify that the A disappears within the liquid phase at the rate proportional to the local concentration of A. Now, you need to know that in your system now the difference is that now the gas A, instead of being given on top of your liquid B, in here you're basically sparging the gas A into your liquid B. Okay, you're basically bubbling it out so that you and then there is a steering. It's basically a well-steered system. In bubbling like this, then that means that you have every gas makes interface with your with the liquid basically. So your bubble is basically surrounded by the liquid basically. Okay. So an example for this is the absorption of this SO2, the sulfur dioxide, or the hydrogen sulfide in aqueous and AOH solutions. Again, this SO2 and the H2S is an acidic gas. Okay, this is an acidic gas, and this one is an alkaline or a basic gas. So when you have something with the different nature, acid and the basic, then you know that the chemical reactions will occur naturally. Now, the exact analysis is not really possible due to the complexity of the gas absorption process. But now, let's imagine that you have a bubble area, with that is in contact with your liquid. So this is your liquid in here, and then imagine that this is one of the gas bubble, for example. Okay, but in here, for the sake of the simplicity, we just neglect the effect of the curvature. So instead of making this one into a curvature, into something with the curvature or something with the radius, we don't. We just simply take that. We simply take the assumptions that the diameter is much larger, basically. Okay, so we can take that this is a gas interface in here, and this is a liquid in here, and that a liquid film exists between the gas and the membrane body of the mesh body of the liquid, such that the concentrations of the gas A reduce within this particular film to the value where it's constant in the mesh body of the liquid. So if you go back again into the mass transfer example before, we assume that this one is basically a turbulent, okay, turbulent such that the mixing property is very good in here. But then we still have a film in here where basically the concentration decreases either proportionally or either it's making a curve with respect to the other concentrations in here. Okay, so this is the assumption that is put in here. If we do these things, then we can use the same particular equations again in there with the same boundary conditions, except your second boundary conditions. Since we are dealing with the film in here, the second boundary conditions, because we take that the interface between the gas and this particular liquid film as the position of z equals 0, then at this particular position, then the z equal to the film thickness in here. So at this particular positions, the concentrations will be equal to this Ca multiplied by the film thickness in here. I mean the subscript in here refers to the film thickness in here. Okay, I think this one, if not wrong, is delta, or I think delta or gamma. I think I'm not really familiar with the Latin symbols. Define dimensionless variable. So what you do is you do the same, except this time instead of using L, you will use the film thickness. So it will arise again. I mean the TL modules will come and arise again. So if you follow everything in the same way that you do for that thing, you will get these things in here. Okay. Now, the thing that is very important in here is that we define that the concentrations of the A at this particular interface with respect to the concentrations of the A at this particular interface is equal to the B. Okay, that is the thing that we will figure out as we solve this problem. So if we take these things, we will get at this particular point we will just get a constant, but the constant at this particular moment is not really clear what is this constant is. That's how we use another assumption or another big mass balance. So we can equate the amount of A entering the main body of liquid at Z equal to the film thickness. So at this particular position, okay, that will be the amount of A entering at this particular position over the total bubble surface S in the tank to the amount of A consumed in the bulk of the liquid by the chemical reaction. So the second term in here refers to the amount of A consumed in the bulk of the liquid by the chemical reaction. That's why it comes with this particular volumetric reaction rate term in here. Whereas the left term in here is basically multiplied by the S. S in here is referring to the total bubble surface area in the tank. We assume, I mean conceptually, that we have that figure in our mind, or we can either get that total bubble surface from our physical assumptions. Okay, and this basically this molar efflux in here is something that is defined at this particular position, the interface between the liquid film with the mass body of the liquid, because that's where the majority of the reaction takes place. That will be in here. Okay, I hope everybody get it in here. I think this is still a bit abstract, but you do these equations in here. You substitute in here. Okay, so you have to go back again to your dimensionless expression of the concentrations, and then you define the derivative of that thing. As you plug these things in and continue the derivations slowly, okay, you will be able to get the expressions for the B in here, or basically the ratio of the concentration at this particular point with respect to the concentration at this particular point, which is equal to the 1 over cos hyperbolic of the tile modulus plus the V divided by the S multiplied by the film thickness multiplied by the tile modulus multiplied by the sinus hyperbolic tile modulus. Okay, so it's probably a bit difficult to visualize up to this extent, I think, because those I think the one that basically derive this particular problem, they are very imaginative, and they use a lot of intuitions to calculate these things. So this becomes a conceptual problem, basically, that these people try to solve as systematically as possible. Then they define another variable is called the total rate of the adsorption with chemical reaction. So this one, they multiply at this particular position this NAZ at Z equals 0 multiplied by the film thickness divided by the CA naught multiplied by the DAB. And this terms in here is dimensionless adsorption rate per unit area of the interface. This one in here, of course, you can get, right? And then what becomes very important in here is basically the derivative of the concentration with respect to Z at Z equal 0. Since you have been able to figure out what B is, then finding these terms in here should come directly. Okay, once you get these things, what is important is that you will be able to find that this so-called total rate of adsorption with chemical reaction is something that have these expressions in here. Okay, if you go into the detail later on to figure out what are the different cases that is possible from this particular scenario, is you can plot this particular term in here, where you plot this dimensionless total rate adsorption as the y-axis variables, and then the tile modulus as the x-axis in here. Now, I will not go into the details of describing this, but these are giving you the behavior of the system as a function of the tile modulus. So depending on how your tile modulus and this V divided by the S multiplied by the film thickness, you will get a different set of the behavior. Okay, as you can see in here, if your volume with divided by the surface multiplied by the film thickness is very high, then as you increase the tile modulus from the low value to the high value, then you will initially get this kind of behavior, and then it will become constant when you increase up to a certain value where the tile modulus becomes very high. If you keep on increasing about that value, then it will go up again. So this essentially, the transfer phenomena is something that is quite conceptual, meaning that in the past, I think in about 1970 or 1980, those people they basically publish a paper based on this kind of mathematical analysis. So rather than they go and they do the experiments, they design the experiment such that it fit within that mathematical framework that they develop by imagining and do all these mathematical derivations. So these are something that I would say this is a simple system that could look complex, but I think Berstiwat and Lightfoot, they tackle this in a way such that everything becomes systematic and you have a systematic analysis of your particular systems. Okay, so I think I have been talking quite a lot for just 2 examples. I think two simple examples. I think for the next week drop-in sessions, I will go a little bit into a two-dimensional system. So we will basically go with the particular case scenario where we will have the partial differential equation built up within that particular system. Okay, but that partial differential equations, instead of being need to be solved using a complicated problem, using a complicated technique such as Laplace transform or the Fourier transform, then we can tackle it using I think elementary technique such as the method of the combination of variables. So is there any questions so far? Or my explanation all clear? Kusao, Tiara, Jonathan, Sarina, Daniel? Anything else again that you want to expand from this thing? No? Sarina? Daniel? What I explained to you, is it really clear in your mind? Those are very important. Jonathan, Tiara? Okay. I think that's it. Some of you have not had lunch before, so I would like to, I think, cut it in here, and I'm happy to be contacted for a private sessions if you need. Okay, to basically have a clear your doubts or any questions related with the transfer phenomena. Okay, I will stop the recording in here, and then I need your help to please spend give a feedback to the unit, because the unit has been open I think Monday, I think so. I think me and Frederick have been trying our best to deliver the unit. So we will be very grateful if you can help us to spare 10 minutes of your time to give us the feedback. Okay, instead beside improving the unit, we will be able to know what you feel about the unit, and then we will be grateful for that. So please help us do so.